Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob, and I just want to talk about the insanity that I continue to see. I just had a guy come onto my YouTube channel, and he was talking about how healthcare is one of these areas that can embrace socialism and that it's a totally different thing than a normal market. And again, there's one principle that needs to be understood by absolutely everybody. Remember that everything you have, everything you've ever bought, you traded your money in exchange for some sort of value, right? And ultimately, you have supply and you have demand, right? You have how much of a good somebody wants. And then you have the supply, how much of that we have, whether that's a service, whether that's a good, whatever it is. Now, here's how Democrats are breaking things worse than we've ever seen before. When you have the same amount of goods and services, or even less because of a pandemic and all of the problems that we've had, and then you equip demand, the people that want it, with printed money, what happens is everybody has more dollars chasing fewer goods, which means that prices skyrocket. I just have to say, any of you that voted for this administration that has printed 45% of all currency in the last 365 days, which Trump had a little bit to do with that too. But let's just be frank. This Congress and this administration, the Biden administration, is printing money left and right. Not only that, but they're paying people not to work by extending unemployment benefits. And no matter what, they are throttling and taking from mega corporations who've been absorbing our printed money like crazy into the stock market and into their corporations. They're now taxing them and they're handing out this money into the market. They are printing money. So when you have fewer goods or the same amount of goods and you have more dollars equipped in the pockets of all of us, that causes prices to increase and that robs all of us. Anybody that is concerned about the future whatsoever and wants more plentiful healthcare, wants more higher education, wants to have housing available for everybody, needs to quit thinking about how government can give people money or buying power to afford something. And you need to unleash the markets which actually produce that thing, okay? If you want more people to have higher education, you cannot continue to give people dollars for higher education. You need to loosen the academic standards and all of the nonsense that we've got over here on the supply side. The big difference, this is Austrian supply side economics versus Keynesian demand economics. Is it better to break windows so that you have to make windows, or should we just work on the fundamentals of an economy? We've been printing money and breaking windows over here for a long time. And folks, everybody deals in American dollars. So while this inflation has been the boogeyman that's been talked about since 2008, I'm telling you, there's going to reach a tipping point where suddenly our inflation is going to spike so high, or the cost of goods are just simply going to be so high that there's going to be a compounding effect. And hopefully we have the Rand Pauls of this world step in and help bring some Austrian economics like Milton Friedman talked about into our situation and into our company and into our world. Because what is happening right now is there is a group of people, whether it's the globalists or it's the socialists, but what their mentality is that they are the ruling class that knows better, whether it's in academia, the mainstream media, or if it's the tech oligarchs that decide what is truth and what is not. We now know, watching through all of this pandemic crisis, that these people think that they're smarter, better, and they should be making the decisions. They should pick winners and losers. They think that they should be telling us whose jobs and which sectors are actually essential versus non-essential. And we keep falling for it because on one side, they keep giving us money for things. And we keep saying, oh, I want to help poor people. I want to help black people. I want to help every Native American. So let's just keep giving people money. What you're doing is you're cursing these groups by equipping them with buying power that's not going to help them. And essentially what's happening is we're creating little groups of bureaucrats engorged with power, making winners and losers in the economy, making winners and losers in news or in information, and creating winners and losers in every level of control, and we have to stop it. My hope is that we have a liberty-minded person that will step forward and a movement away from this thought of conscious capitalism, which is really what it is you're saying there should be a group of people inside of capitalism picking winners and losers, rather than allowing every organization to compete against each other to earn the business or earn someone choosing them. Free enterprise capitalism. When people say capitalism is broken or capitalism leads to bad things, no. It's not capitalism. We say capitalism and it's become this weird, it's a free enterprise system. And in the free enterprise system, the state or the people don't use the state or government to take over the means of producing things, or our employers, or the things that provide supply, right? That create stuff. And they don't determine how much it should be costing. They don't determine our wages. What we have is anybody who wants to can try to supply goods and services. They can price it however they want, and they can enjoy the fruits of the labor of taking that risk. I started a business. I've started 2 of them. And I tell you what, I should get the fruits of my labor. You have no right to it. And every entrepreneur that does that, and everybody who wants to meet that, should be rewarded with that. And in the wake of that, you have people getting jobs. You have problems being solved and a place for people to come work. But if we think that the government, which socialism is the state taking over the means of production, which means the government determines what should be made, how much it should cost, and then equips you with the ability to afford it, what we're going to have very quickly, folks, is something where we cannot afford anything because they will break it. And if you don't believe me, just look at the little bits of tinkering we did during the pandemic. We just blame that on COVID. That was a government problem because COVID didn't do hardly a thing. 300,000 dead. Fewer people died in 2020 than what died in 2019. Like, fewer people died of the flu. Fewer people died of heart disease. We had an increase in all sorts of different things, but folks, fewer people died. More people died of fentanyl overdoses than of COVID in California. Did you know that? So what we did to our economy last year was government induced by bureaucrats who were, thank God that they were wrong. Thank God that it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. I even took the word of our news media and of our government and said, boy, we're going to see 2 million people die. Not even close. Fewer people died last year overall than what died in the year before. That's insane. So the point of this is the tinkering they did with that economy by turning off certain sectors and picking winners and losers. You remember when you went to Walmart and the shelves were bare? Remember how you couldn't get toilet paper? Now put those people that do the same. Did you try and use the post office? Did you try and use a government entity? They just shut everything down. Now put those people in charge of everything. And what you will find is they will screw it up. There will be shortages or there'll be overages. The prices won't be right and nothing will work. The more they take things over, the more rules they make. And it just starts by, you know how they do it? They hand out money. So right now, the way that they're trying to win people over is to slice and dice us into races, into sexual orientation, into identity politics. And then they're trying to basically equip people with buying power. And then what's happening is they're breaking the system, and they want to because they want to be in charge. They want it to fall apart so they can be in charge. And the more we move away from the free enterprise system, the more we think that we can have rooms full of central bureaucrats picking winners and losers, determining pricing, applying their own rules, and stopping just common sense solutions to problems. We're going to continue to see a breaking apart of this amazing free enterprise system that we have, where you get to go work where you want, you get to buy what you want, prices make sense, and every company is trying to earn you. They're trying to get you to choose them. And if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. But you know what happens in areas where free enterprise system is lost? Look at the VA. The VA, there is no choice. If the VA is bad in your area, you're tough nuts out of luck. You don't get to get good health care as a veteran. You have to go pay somewhere else. But because it's an inflated dollars, everything's too expensive. Folks, everywhere the government starts to provide one thing, all of a sudden you lose choices. Look at what happened as soon as we went with the Affordable Care Act. It did everything but make healthcare affordable. It tanked everything. We have a tightening of the number of suppliers in healthcare. We have fewer healthcare choices than we've ever had before. But look at how many millions of people got healthcare that didn't. We have a totally broken Frankenstein system, and yet it's still 10 times better than the socialized nonsense you have overseas, where everybody lives off of an all-you-can-eat buffet and are just used to taking home, 50 cents on the dollar of their earnings. They're not, that's all foolish. What we have to look at is how our political class and the mainstream media is in cahoots with them because they want power. They want bureaucrats. They want to be the people in the room making all the rules, and we have to vote against it. We got to move away from it. You cannot believe that capitalism is broken. Capitalism's not broken. The free enterprise system is beautiful because guess what? You get to choose. And anybody who says that, look, it pollutes, it destroys the earth, no, it doesn't. The free enterprise system has led to companies like Patagonia, where I can choose to pay a premium for the clothing that I wear so that it's consciously made. I get that choice because the free enterprise system allows somebody to do that. The more we come in and say that there needs to be standards, there needs to be red tape, like in the investment world. If you look at the investment world right now, how many new banks do you have getting created? How many new investment companies are there? There's hardly any because the red tape is so thick that you simply cannot do it. And what you have is the elite class, the existing providers, protect themselves by creating laws and creating rooms full of bureaucrats, whether it's Dodd-Frank or if it's FINRA or whatever it is, the self-governing bodies, or it could be the SEC. The more rules you make and the more rooms of bureaucrats you create and the more you have government or the state stepping in on behalf of the people to either give you money or protect you, what happens is they're keeping out new entrants to solve problems. We need more new entrants. We need more free enterprise. We need more liberty, not less. If we think that there's a move away from consciousness or a conscience. When people say that there's no conscience to capitalism, what it is that we are messing around with things in such a manner that there's not a choice to choose the conscious choice. Because in free enterprise, I can move away from a company I don't like. But you go look across the world right now where there is government for sale. Corporations and businesses are only as corrupt as the amount of government there is for sale. The more power there is for sale, the more seats of bureaucrats and agencies that can be bought and purchased, the more protected they are. Just look at Wall Street. That's what Wall Street is. On one side, Wall Street is beautiful because they provide an easy, clear path for us to partake in the profits of other companies or the profits of municipalities bonding, whatever that is, it does a really cool thing for us. But on the other side, they have created protectionist laws, and it's this, whether it's mining operations in third world countries, if it's sand mining, or if it's the diamond industry in Africa, it doesn't matter where it is. Where you see corrupt corporations or corrupt businesses, there is always a tight-knit relationship between them and cronies in government. And what we're doing right now, folks, with this whole, we've got czars coming out with the Biden administration. We've got all of these plans to hand out money. What happens is there's rooms of bureaucrats. There's rooms of agency law. We're putting teeth to the IRS. You know what happens with every time that happens? You know what happens? Those with the money buy off the IRS law. They buy off with, we always call them lobbyists, but it's not just lobbyists. Whoever has the tight relationship with the little bureaucrat behind the wall, that's who benefits. And we have to move the needle away from that. The more liberty we can embrace, the less protectionist we have, the fewer laws we have to protect consumers, the more choice there will be so you can choose a solution that is actually moral and conscious. The more laws you create to keep out entrances, the more taxes you have on new businesses, the more capital gains taxes you have on rich people deploying capital to grow businesses. The more you do that, the harder you make supply to increase. The more you crush the fruit of the labor from the risk of deploying capital and trying to supply, the less supply you have. And to bring it all full circle, then you have these same politics that are limiting supply and then they're equipping you with buying power, with printed dollars. It is leading to an increase in price. We have a circular reasoning system, all led by the corrupt media, who is basically the Democratic Party and the Republican establishment. We need liberty. We need fewer government agencies, fewer laws to protect people, and we need more freedom so that supply can increase. Not so that we can have more money, but so that we can have the choice that we deserve. You should be able to choose any investment company you want right now, and the press should be doing their job. Instead of just patting the backs of their political bureaucrats, the press should be telling us about companies that are failing. They should tell us what companies, they should be doing their jobs to hold people accountable. And that's what the freedom of the press is meant to hold government officials accountable. But what the press does is they chase clicks. If it bleeds, it leads. And our algorithmic system in tech has made it even worse. So that's my rant right now, because I'm tired of hearing people talk about, boy, if we had, there's consequences to capitalism. Bull snot. The free enterprise system provides Patagonia. It provides free trade, coffee. I can make sure that my coffee beans are selected through a process that I like. I can buy electric cars if I want to. That doesn't come from government. Now, there are little spending streaks that have happened in there that maybe spur things along, but those are just lever pulls. What truly gets us moving forward is when supply, in the pursuit of one's own best interest, to take risk, to try and produce and enjoy the fruits of the labor of the amplification of one's own efforts through business ownership, by getting high returns, by taking risk with your own capital. When you do those things, you get the benefits of it. And it's that risk, it's that free enterprise thing that allows supply. The only reason why our poor people have smartphones, they have air conditioners, they have refrigerators, they have, for the most part, unless you're addicted to drugs and on the street. And let's be frank, homelessness is, generally speaking, a drug addiction problem. We know that, or an alcohol problem. And there's certainly mental health problems in there too. It's not always their fault, but I'm telling you, we can be frank about that. The reason why those people have smartphones, why the homeless people in Seattle are drinking $5 coffees, I watched it myself, and why we have, even our poor have nice, comparatively, if we compare it to third world nations, we compare it to 200 years ago, everything has gotten better. And that's because companies and people have pursued their own best interest, taken risks, and that leads to supply. They are trying to get people to choose them. And that's what free enterprise is. It's businesses and individuals trying to provide goods and services that get chosen. And the more choice we have, the more quality increases. And generally speaking, you have pressure towards each company to have to keep their prices low, because if they let it get too expensive, the hammer's going to drop. The thing that keeps Apple honest is Android phones and Samsung. The thing that keeps Samsung honest is Apple. And the thing that keeps them all honest is Huawei. Unless you're in China, then you have very few options. So I guess, folks, this rant is all about, we need to embrace liberty. There are no consequences to capitalism that are immoral. That is wrong. It's just simply untrue, because the free enterprise system is the only thing that allows a gateway for a true moral company that's full of integrity, that wants to tell the truth, that wants to be responsible, take ecological responsibility for their footprint, that wants to do things in an honorable way. There's only one platform that allows that company to come up against the crony company that has purchased government, and that's the free enterprise system. The more government bureaucrats, laws, help, red tape that we have, that's more hindrance to supply and options, and we have to stop that. Good luck. God bless. I'm sure you disagree with me. That's fine. There's going to be a ton of you that think I'm a fascist or something weird. No, I love Democrats. I love Republicans. I think that there's a fundamental flaw to the left. I think that there's a lot that I could just keep going on about, but good luck. God bless. And I hope things go upward and forward for you.